Oni sisters of the hidden village X, blessing day 1 Ram. Let's celebrate, is what Ram said in the middle of her morning servant work. In response to that sudden remark, Subaru widened his eyes as he said, "Huh," carrying the mansion's clothes with Ram right before it was time for breakfast. Ram reacts to Subaru's stupid voice by squinting her almond eyes. Ram, you got a problem with that, Barusu? Subaru, no, I don't really have a problem, but I got surprised since it was sudden. Besides, isn't it always my job to propose something out of nowhere? Ram, in other words, as a result of me beating you at your own game of coming up with wild ideas, Barusu is vanishing from this world as you've lost your own self-worth. Subaru, you just said something really science fiction-y out of the blue. It's not something that grand. Ram, science fiction-y. Ram looked somewhat cute as she put a finger on her lips and repeated a word she was unfamiliar with. However, that was not Subaru's gesture. When Ram said her sudden idea, he tilted his head as he said, well. Ram would be sudden relatively often, but it was all just her joking. Her quick thinking brought about her evil. And while Ram had that skill to figure out complicated things, Subaru also had the ability to explain things in a simple way. But still, what was the deal with this insufficient explanation that was even unkind? Subaru, well, I won't argue against it, but a celebration is for when something happy happens, right? I'm not really informed on them, but is it sort of like a national holiday or something? Hearing the word celebration, what suddenly came to Subaru's mind were ceremonies. It would be partly wrong to call them celebrations, but they were things that reminded him of them. If none of those were it, then perhaps they could possibly be things like the world's specific events or festivals. In his original world, they would be things like Christmas, New Year's, Halloween, Golden Week, summer break, winter break, spring break, stuff like that. Subaru, why is fall the only one without a break? I wonder, is it because there are so many delicious things in fall, and they're afraid of people never working again if they carelessly rest for too long or something? Ram, I don't get what you're saying, but I feel you've gone way off topic. Subaru, I did digress at the end, but up until before that, they were pretty serious questions. The things done and preparations needed depend on the details of the celebration, too. Just try doing something like leave a Christmas tree up until New Year's. You'll become the laughingstock of the neighborhood. It was Subaru mumbling about his very true feelings that came from experience. Although in the Natsuki household, the 1 week between Christmas and New Year's, whenever big events came by continuously in short amounts of time, all the events would get mixed together because of his festive father and troublesome mother's ideas. When things didn't go well, Halloween pumpkins would get mixed with Christmas and New Year's, so it was quite chaotic. Subaru, well, I wonder if we became the laughingstock of the neighborhood for better or worse. Ram, why are you making a distant look? Then Ram glared at Subaru with half-opened eyes, him getting a bit nostalgic, and she sighed. Ram, I don't know why Barusu is uneasy, but it's neither an idea nor a strange festival, so don't worry. Besides, normally Rem takes care of things, right? It's a chance to pay her back. Subaru, paying back Rem, something like Labor Thanksgiving Day. Ram, thanking her for her work would be a perfect way to put it. So are you okay with it? Subaru, you're saying that to me, someone who suggested giving Rem a day off before. Rem had a very extreme amount of duties put on her at Roswell's mansion. Rem was dependent on way too much, so Subaru wanted to do something about it so much that he was always thinking about it. In the past, he got all of the mansion together to somehow work out a day off for Rem, and he acted as her representative. As a result, they all reflected upon Rem's greatness, but Subaru and So Sister had a change of heart. If you say that you want to make another day off for Rem, then I will help you with pleasure. There's a pile of favors that must be returned after all. Ram, I see you have no problem with making suggestions into your own. Subaru, did you say something just now? Ram, I said it is natural to pay her back and work hard. Ram snorts her nose, her arms folded, and Subaru nodded as he said got it. He felt like paying Rem back was a very good idea. It felt somewhat sudden, but since Ram said it as her loving sister, it didn't feel out of place. However, Subaru, but if that's the case, then isn't the nuance slightly different than a celebration? Ram, Your limits are showing with how you fuss over trivial and small things. Subaru. This is the reply I get even when I simply made a point about national language. Subaru gets treated unreasonably, and he raises his voice. However, Ram didn't pay attention to that. When she quickly finished her work, she said Ram, "Also, let's keep this a secret from Rem." Subaru. "A secret, yeah, right. Got it, you can count on me." Ram leaves just those words, and she left that place briskly with a quick pace. Subaru sees her off, and while scratching his head with a slightly confused look, he said, Subaru, "A celebration, huh? If I can't talk to Rem about it, then I guess I'll talk to Emiliatan for now." When Subaru vaguely decided on his plan after breakfast, he finished up the rest of his work. A nice, slight scent of Rem's homemade breakfast came drifting about. To Subaru. "So yeah, Ram said that she wants to celebrate." Emilia. "I see. Feels kinda weird. Usually Subaru would be the one to bring stuff like that up. Are you depressed?" Subaru. "I'm not depressed, but Emiliatan has that perception of me, too. The erraticness of my ideas truly is my unique characteristic." Wasn't something Subaru should have been proud of, but he was worried about if he was falling behind in that field. Of course, it wasn't necessary for Ram to have that impression of him, someone who even said that his existence would vanish. But he was a little shocked by how even Emilia had that impression. Emilia, kidding, just kidding. Subaru is always mean to me, so I just tried to get back at him a bit. Don't make such a sad face. Subaru, really? Emilia, I'm being truthfully truthful. Really truthful. Just for a moment, Emilia followed up on Subaru's situation in panic, as he was hurt. Considering how she got tricked by that little act, she wasn't suited for teasing people. That meekness makes Subaru forget about his act without thinking about it, and a smile came to his face. He was in Emilia's room, and it was right after breakfast ended. Subaru caught Emilia before she started her work after breakfast, borrowing just a little of her time, and he talked about his conversation with Ram this morning. As expected, Emilia also was surprised from the sudden suggestion at first. But Emilia, "I was like this for the recent day off too, but I am in agreement with doing something for Rem. I agree, but it feels really sudden somehow." Subaru, "Emiliatan, you think so too after all. Agreed. It is very sudden. I did think that it may have been a Lugunica national holiday or something that only I didn't know about." Emilia, "I'm also still studying, but there probably isn't one maybe. Puck. What is it, Leah?" Suddenly losing confidence in herself, Emilia talks to her necklace in the middle of the conversation. When she did, the green crystal stone stuck onto her necklace emits a faint light. Immediately after the flicker of light, a kitten's spirit, Puck, showed up on Emilia's shoulder. The spirit scratches his eyes sleepily, and he yawns with his big mouth open as he said, "Phew-ah." Subaru, "Just when I thought you weren't here at breakfast. You slept in quite late today, huh?" Puck, "I did actually stay up a little late last night. I'm still sleepy, but what's up?" Emilia, "Sorry for waking you up, Puck. The truth is that I'd like to ask you something." She pats Puck's head, him waking up, and she explains the previous interaction. It was related to Ram's sudden suggestion and national holidays of the Lugunica kingdom. It was weird how Puck was more informed than Emilia, but this kitten would show his bag of wisdom for rarely understood mysteries, so she thought that maybe he'd give her an answer. That's what Subaru and Emilia had hoped for, but Puck, can't think of one. In the kingdom, I don't think there's anything like a celebration day to thank someone. If I had to say something, then maybe the Moon Festival would be close. Subaru, Moon Festival. Emilia, oh, you see, it's something that happens on the 25th of each month. The founding of the Lugunica kingdom was on the 25th day of the month of Marshba of Laguna history. So every month on that day, a festival is held in places like the king's capital and big towns. Humph, didn't know that, did you? Subaru, thanks for letting me know, but it kind of felt like you wanted to tell us the knowledge you studied for a lot. It was like the fluency of a person that only read guidebooks and would speak pridefully while traveling. Anyhow, Subaru was convinced with Emilia's explanation. This world's time was about the same as well. It had the 1-year period, along with the 12-month system, too. However, occasionally the naming would be different, which was the only thing that left slight discomfort. Subaru. Well, that discomfort fades with time, but isn't this month Arb month? It's already past the 25th of that. Puck. That's why I said, if I had to say. It was 3 days ago, so it is in fact close, you know. Subaru. But, putting if the event was a previous date aside, the ones in the past were forgotten immediately. Things like the cake after Christmas and the chicken were too terrible to look at. They should have been the same things, and yet what was this sorrow of the products that came after the event days? And yet Christmas is considered to be the cause of excitement for the 23rd Eve and the days up to that, Subaru. For Christmas, even the day it's on has a late feeling to it. Emilia. What is Christmas? Subaru. Someday I want to talk about the Holy Night and the red good old man, but it will take long, so I'll put it off for now. Subaru digressed himself, but he fooled Emilia with a smile as she had her head tilted. Afterwards, he cleared his throat, and while thinking about Puck's previous remark again, he said Subaru. Though Ram messing up the date is so unlike her that it's weird. I don't think she's celebrating to accommodate for the moon festival passing by. Puck. I also agree. That peach-haired girl wouldn't do something like that. Emilia. Somehow it feels like you two have really matching opinions on Ram, though I also feel the same way. Emilia chuckles, finding the matching of their opinions amusing, and she smiles. Subaru and Puck also look at each other, and they smile because of her smile. The opinion also was that they had faith in Ram's personality and abilities. Putting her abilities as a maid aside, they could put trust in her humanity. Subaru didn't even think Rem's opinion of calling Ram a prodigy before was an over-evaluation, either. Subaru, the main doubt won't be resolved after all, eh? I guess we shouldn't worry about it too much, and we should come up with a solution like we did the other day for Rem. Emilia. It was difficult, but it was fun, so I'm fine with that. But if you're worried, then should I ask Ram? Even though she won't tell Subaru, she might tell me. Subaru. That really seems like what it'll come down to, so I have mixed feelings. It feels a little like I've lost. Emilia. You never talked about winning or losing, though. Emilia responds to Subaru's strange stubbornness by putting a finger on her lips in confusion. There certainly was quite a high possibility that Emilia would get an answer out of Ram if she asked her directly, or rather, she would probably get an answer. However, that was sort of like a cheat, or maybe a forbidden move, or like attacking a boss after lowering the difficulty in the middle of the game. Anyways, that's what it felt like. Subaru. Well, we men do have backbone. Anyways, it doesn't seem like there's any urgency today or tomorrow, so I'd like you to let me do my best for a little longer. Emilia. Ooh, then I wouldn't know the answer and I'd be sad, being the one you guys consulted. Subaru. Emilia-tan can ask for an answer too. You can ask for an answer too, but, is what he said vaguely. Emilia had a little bit of a childish side, although it was something he understood from his recent socializing with her, so he was worried about if she'd be able to keep silent after finding out the answer. For some reason it made it feel like she was going to carelessly and happily have a slip of the tongue. Puck, Subaru's concern might be relatively appropriate. Subaru, so you think so too, huh, Dad? Puck, who you callin' Dad? Well, I am happy that you understand my daughter. He guesses the vague parts of his innermost thoughts, and Puck shares a firm handshake with Subaru as he nodded. Emilia seemed to be a little displeased from the dynamic handshake of Puck being on Subaru's palm, but she quickly said, geez, as she lowered one eyebrow and sighed. Emilia. Okay, got it. I'll count on Subaru's obstinance of a man. However, I'm also with you in wanting to do something for Rem, so once you get information, let me know. Subaru. Of course I will. She would be happier with everyone doing something for her than if it was just me anyways. I hate to admit it, but I seriously have poor abilities as a single body, after all. Puck. If it's Subaru that does something for her, then I'm sure the blue-haired girl would be happy even with your poor abilities. Subaru. My poor abilities won't be enough to show my gratitude towards Rem. Subaru thrusted his finger at Puck, who mumbled that while playing with his whiskers. It wasn't just about her work at the mansion. There was a ton of things he wanted to thank Rem for. If it was a chance to pay her back even a little, he wanted to pay her back as much as he possibly could. Subaru. Thus, I won't let this chance go with the tenacity of a hyena. Emilia, doesn't that kinda sound like a line that would come from someone requesting a favor? In response to Subaru's evil smile, him having nihilistically decided on his intentions, Emilia mutters with a troubled face as she put a finger on her cheek and tilted her head slightly. Like that, it was at the same time when Subaru and Emilia were talking. Ram, Master Roswal, are you free? After the sound of a light knock, the door slowly opened. The owner of the room lifts his head in response to that voice and sound, and he closed one of his eyes at the follower that appeared from the gap of the door. Indigo blue hair and different colored eyes. It was a man that had the appearance of a clown with his eccentric outfit and makeup. The man sitting down on the business desk was Roswal L. Mathers the Margrave. When Roswal put his feather pen on the desk, he smiled slightly at the visit from the follower. Roswal, unusual of you to come in the middle of work. What is Ruang Ram? Ram, sorry. However, I have a request for Master Roswal. Roswal, you have one for me? Roswal includes a rare nuance in his sentence, and he raised his eyebrow at Ram's words. Normally, Ram would have times when she'd be arrogant towards anyone, but Master Roswal was the only person she'd always pay her respects to, offering her loyalty. It was rare for her to request a favor of Roswal herself. No, this was just about the first time. Roswal, disregarding the first time you came to the mansion, Thea at is. Ram, I was very rude during that time repeatedly. Roswal, I don't mean to blame you. I'm surprisingly very happy with you and Rem wanting something from me. Ram shrugs her shoulders, having apologized, and Roswal causes the back of his chair to creak. Roswal knew Ram and Rem for close to 10 years. Not once did those two ask for something unreasonable of their position. That's why he felt both surprise and delight from this request. Roswal, so, what is the request? Is it something you want me to do, or is it something you want? Considering Rem's usual services and yours, I would like to grant most of your wishes. Ram. Well then, may I ask for Master Roswal's time, just for today? Roswal. Oh! Having hypothesized if it was an object or an action, Roswal deepens his smile after having time requested. Indeed, he did admire her for putting thought into this. However, Roswal somehow understood the aim of this erratic request. Therefore, with his closed eye, with his blue eye, Roswal stared at Ram and said, Roswal, is it for Rem? Ram. Impressive insight. Roswal, of course I know, you never ask something for yourself after all. Ram, that's wrong. If it's for Rem, then it's also for me. Roswal, then I'll put it correctly. You never ask something only for yourself. When Roswal nodded approvingly at Ram's reaction, her keeping silent, he put the feather pen back in the pen holder. And then he turns over the papers on his desk, and he goes back to his unfinished work. Ram sees that, and she gave a deep bow upon him accepting her request. Roswal, so what do you plan on doing by asking for my time? Ram, right, there is a number of things. Ram squints her light pink eyes that emitted a prudent light, and she said that to Roswal. Ram, first, let's start with returning home, perhaps. For Subaru, where did Rosekai and Ram go off to? Rem, yes, they ordered me to take care of the mansion for today. Subaru opened his eyes wide at Rem's information, who he came across in the middle of work at the corridor. Ram's absence. He was checking out the truth of the celebration she spoke of, and it immediately crushed his plan that he had just made in his discussion with Emilia. Once Subaru lost his chance to interrogate her, he already had nothing else he could do. Subaru, no, it's still too early to give in. If they just left, then if I run, I might be able to catch them. Rem, it might be difficult because Master Roswal held onto Sister and flew via magic. Subaru, I can't deal with this if they use flight. He saw Roswal's flying magic just once before. He heard that it was an advanced technique that combined several magic attributes, but that must have been a considerable speed shown. It took just over 10 seconds for them to disappear at the end of the sky, not necessarily. It was a miscalculation of how long it took Ram and Roswal to leave, although treating it as flight was an exaggeration, too. At the very least, Roswal going out should have been unexpected, so it seemed there was a high possibility of this sudden leave and the aforementioned celebration to be related to each other. Subaru, If so, then that makes me more sad. Rem, do you know where they went off to? Rem, right. I did not hear about it in detail. However, they said they'd be back before the day was over, so I don't think they went that far. Subaru, I see. I see. Rem. Subaru, did you need something from Master Roswell? Subaru. Yeah, the truth ISOH, whoops. Answering carelessly, Subaru shut his mouth while Rem had her head tilted. He felt bad for Rem's pure look, but Ram forbade him from speaking about this matter. The celebration was for Rem's sake anyways, so Subaru was in agreement with keeping it a secret from her. Subaru. Everything's more fun as a surprise, after all. Rem. Subaru. Subaru. Ah, that's not what I meant, right. Do Ram and Roswell go out together like this a lot? Rem, sister and Master Roswell, you say? Let's see. In a way, they do. With the preparations for the royal selection, Master Roswell has more chances to meet with various people. Rem honestly answered his half-powered question, which he asked to fool her. When she cut off her words once in the middle of it with a however, she said, Rem. But in those cases, the other party has their circumstances too, so so going out like this today is rare. Subaru. During the witch beast commotion, Rose-Kai was called from somewhere and he flew, right? Rem. That was a rare exception. It was Garf being selfish in the first place anyways. Please don't say mean things, Subaru. Subaru. My bad, my bad. Rem pouts with her cheeks, making a bit of a sulky look, and Subaru apologized to her while having a wry smile. Once he listened to Rem's answer, he knew that the sudden leave was a rare, strange occurrence. Rem. You seem very worried about sister. Subaru, do you actually? Rem folds her arms. In response to Subaru, him going into deep thought, she puts her hand on her mouth upon suddenly realizing something. That reaction makes Subaru lose his breath, thinking that she may have seen through him planning a celebration. Rem looks down quietly with her light blue eyes in reaction to Subaru's state and says, Rem. No, maybe it just can't be helped. Sister is perfect. After all, but sister has Master Roswell, so it might be difficult. Subaru, you are having a really unexpected misunderstanding. No way, it's not like that at all. That would be way too fearless of me with how Ram's been treating me up until today. Rem, yes, I know. I was kidding. Rem smiles with a chuckle, and she sticks her tongue out at Subaru, who frantically explained himself. That lovely gesture makes Subaru feel relieved. The weird misunderstanding bothered him, but above that, it meant she didn't realize his secret. Rem, it's regretful, but I guess it's about time we go back to work. Sister is out, so Subaru and I will have more trouble than usual, but let's do our best. Subaru. Yeah, even if Ram isn't there, that doesn't mean I don't feel a little concerned about how it doesn't make that much of a difference in workload. Rem, just having sister there gives me power. Ah, Subaru too. Subaru, doesn't that imply I've been discharged? Rem, Subaru, you're not gonna say anything. He was so useless that you could say it was upsetting, so she was at a loss for a response. However, when Rem showed a gesture that's similar to rolling up her sleeves, being silent with a cute smile on her face, she said, Rem, all right, let's do some work. Subaru gets the garden while I'll work on the east wing. Subaru. Boo-hoo. Rem has been nice lately, so it was a piercing that happened for the first time in a long while. Subaru follows Rem's back, who walked ahead, while cursing his inadequacy and hanging his head. In the middle of that, he suddenly looks out the corridor's window, and he squinted at the blue sky with few clouds. Where were those two that left to someplace while flying in the blue sky, and how were they? While vaguely thinking about those things, Subaru headed towards the garden to collect the laundry. It was the hidden village that existed silently in the verdant mountains. Actually, that wouldn't be accurate. Putting it correctly, it was a hidden village. Long after the site of the village became deserted, the place that was a village completely became a mountain forest. If you stared at it, you could barely locate things like the roads and the fields, but doing that would only make you feel sentimental, nothing more. Ram. Leaving it alone for many years, how cold-hearted of me. Is what Ram let out, sounding as if she was deprecating herself while walking on grass. Inside Ram's light pink eyes that viewed the surroundings silently, there were rare emotions that had a complex hue, even though she was someone good at hiding her inner thoughts. The faint feelings were nostalgia and relief, while the deep ones were self-deprecation and sorrow. Perhaps that was it. Roswal, you haven't returned home ever since you reported the retribution Reite. The person accompanying Ram calmly walking close to her side was Roswal. When Ram nodded with a yes to Roswal's question, she said, Ram, my relatives' souls were put to rest. Since then, there was never any reason to come over here. Roswal, there are other reasons to come to the graves besides putting them to rest, although this is a difference in our individual ways of thinking. Perhaps there's a difference between races, too. Ram, Master Roswal is attached to the graveyard after all. Roswal, oh, now that's some rare sarcasm coming from Yaowu. In response to the teasing, Roswal gives Ram a happy look with his cheeks, and she lets out a small sigh. The careless word was the cause of the disturbance inside her chest. This place was special to the sisters Ram and Rem, because it was their hometown, and it wouldn't be an exaggeration to even call it the place of the Oni clan's demise. The Oni were a stoic race that took pride in the fact that they had unrivaled strength, even if you look through all of the demi-human races. However, in exchange, the absolute number of the Oni clan was small, and this place was the last of the villages that formed the Oni clan village. That village burned down 10 years ago, and as long as there weren't even any strays that left their families, there were only 2 survivors, the sisters Ram and Rem. Rem was essentially the last of the Oni clan because Ram lost her horn during that ordeal. Afterwards, the sisters were luckily found by Roswal, and they spent 10 years at his mansion. During that time, the sisters came here only once. Roswal, you remember where the cenotaph is? Ram, well, I did get Master Roswal to build it at the most visible place. Apart from that, sorry for asking something selfish. Roswal, why? I've decided to use this time for you. Besides, asking to walk a little at your birthplace doesn't count as being selfish. Shrugging his shoulders, Roswal says those words, and Ram took a peek behind her. Ram compares the path they've been walking on and the scenery in her memory, and the difference makes her clearly feel that it's been 10 years. They came here with the use of Roswal's flying magic. Ram could also count the number of times she was held in his arms and experienced flying in the sky. Although, this time she was thinking more about how she was visiting her hometown, rather than she was feeling happy. She was thinking more about how this one single time was when the nostalgia was way too much to handle. Roswal, is that it? It's been a while since I've been here too. Can't really say I'm so sure myself. Ram, yes, that's it, no doubt about it. Roswal mutters that while looking far away. Ram nods, affirming his words. Ahead of the mountain road with slopes, there was a location that showed up just a little from their surroundings. It was a place where you could look over all of the village, and it was also where the patriarch's residence was built once before. And then now, it was also the place where a cenotaph was built to put the Oni clan's souls to rest. It was a stone monument made out of white, crystal stone built at the apex of the high ground. Back then, it was big enough so that she had to look up at it. However, now it was about the same size as Ram's height, which also made her feel the time that passed. However, the discomfort that Ram had when the cenotaph was right before her made her frown. She felt discomfort from the cenotaph itself and the situation around it. The village's state of ruin was something that could be understood at a glance, but the exuberant plants completely returned it to a part of nature. But even then, the greenery had a weak influence only in the area of the cenotaph. At the foot of the stone monument, soil was prepared so that weeds wouldn't grow, and the monument itself was repaired very beautifully. As mentioned before, it had been approximately 10 years since Ram came here. Even Rem never disappeared on her own accord in the days that she managed to come here privately. Before that, nobody had ever trod over the path they went along. Doing something like arriving at the side of the cenotaph without making footprints would be Ram. Master Roswal, why is it? Ram. Earlier, did you say it's been a while since you came here? According to Ram's memory, Roswal visited the village 3 times. One time was when he took Rem out from the burned-down village. The second time was when he established the cenotaph in the village. And then the third time was when he brought Ram and her to the village as they came to the cenotaph. However, Roswal stayed at the village's entrance for the 3rd time. And besides, if he never came here after that, what Roswal said earlier was inappropriate. It wasn't like him. Roswal quickly raised his hands and said, "I give up to Ram," as she had her doubts. "Roswal, don't make such a scary Luke. Don't doubt me so oddly. I am the one that repaired this area a little after all. Also, I think Clind did too. Ram, Master Roswal and that thing did." Having nonchalantly listened to the unexpected truth, Ram opens her eyes wide in surprise. It was natural. Even though this place was Ram and her sister's birthplace, Roswal had nothing to do with this place. And yet, instead of these two, why was he, Roswal? There are other reasons to visit a grave besides putting souls to rest. It's a difference in our individual ways of thinking and a difference between races. Ram, Roswal, I don't go so often that you could call it periodic. Only when I remember and have the time. As you know, I do not take the time to come here after Azal. If he used fly magic, it would take around an hour to go from the mansion to here. That said, it didn't change how Roswal had no obligation, and it didn't change how he took the time to repair the cenotaph either. It shook Ram up, as she didn't know about it until now. Roswal, I got to see your surprised face. That makes it worth it. Ram, I am in awe. Ram gets her shoulder tapped gently, and she admired Roswal, him laughing while being unbothered. Although she was also irritated by wondering why he was always at a place where he couldn't be seen. Ram, however, it is annoying how I have to thank you for that. Roswal, well, it does seem that Clind lost special interest in people like you and Rem ever since he was about 13. This is purely him having good intentions. I know that it's hard to say it Thowug. Ram mutters, having curved her lips, and Roswal changes his smile to a bitter one. Ram sees that with the corner of her eye, and she sighed as she quietly faced the cenotaph. There was no erosion on the cenotaph from the wind, rain, or moss perhaps, because of the periodic maintenance. It was also kept away from such foreign substances because of how the highly pure crystal stone encapsulated mana abundantly. The inclusion of that was Roswal being considerate. While feeling grateful for that, Ram kneels down at that place, and she prays. She puts her hand on the scar of her forehead that used to have a horn, and she prays briefly. Roswal, making a report again. Ram, yes. Roswal asks a direct question, knowing about the circumstances, and Ram simply gives a short affirmation once again. The circumstances, yes, it was about a report. Ram came here, returning home, to give a report to the souls of the Oni clan sleeping in the cenotaph. Ram and Rem's parents were also included in these solaced souls of the stone monument, after all. Ram, I have a right to let them know. Rem has been released from her curse. She tells it, the truth, to her parents and to her race. Although Ram, you guys probably didn't know that Rem was binded though. In silence from the back, Roswal watches over Ram as she called out to the spirits of the Oni clan. Rem's curse. It started with the ending of the retribution towards the cause of the destruction of the Oni clan that happened 9 years ago, or 10 years ago when the village burned down. Maybe it started 17 years ago, ever since Ram and Rem were born. Ram, she continued to bind herself. Their race didn't have bad intentions. Ram understood that, and Rem also must have felt the same way. Their parents at least loved Ram and Rem equally in their conscience. The race of the village also put their expectations and hopes in them. Ram wasn't so sure about the patriarch's true feelings, but he was the only one. That love, expectation, and clear disdain bound Rem with an unnecessary sense of duty. That completely bound Rem's heart for a long, long time. A really long time, but Rem has finally been released from it, although the one who released her irritates me a little. It wasn't as if she wasn't thanking him. No, she did feel grateful. She was just a little conflicted inside. The black-haired boy's foolish smile that came to her mind. Rem just truly being herself, and getting embarrassed after looking at that boy was a facial expression Ram had wished to see for a long time. It was Rem finally going towards happiness without it being because of Ram. Ram, that's why I came to report this, for the sake of the race and family connections. She didn't love her race that much. Therefore, Ram considered herself cold-hearted. She didn't carry out the retribution before for the family out of love. She did it because it was an obligation. This report about Rem today wasn't out of love, either. It was also an obligation. She was pretty much uninterested in her parents and her race. The only one Ram loved in this village was Rem, her younger sister that she treasured more than half her body. She could love many more things after leaving this village, but even then, she felt like she had to communicate to relieve them. Ram. Ram stands up, unpacks a package she brought, and she took out a bottle of sake. Pouring sake on a cenotaph was a funeral that was somewhat unorthodox. The crystal stone brightens in the alcohol, perhaps because of how the sake's flavor was exceptional after 9 years, and it seemed to be satisfied with the offering. Ram. My apologies for making you wait for such a long time. Roswal, are you satisfied? Ram. I told them the things they should know. I thank you, and not just for today. In response to Ram's reply, her having finished her ritual, Roswal closed one of his eyes and he nodded. While having Ram reflected in his blue eye, Roswal smiles at the petite follower and he says, Roswal, well then, let's move on, I guess. The report has been made to your race and the trip back home has been completed. But there's more to do, right? Ram. Yes. Ram gives an acknowledging gesture with her chin, and after that she brought her body close to Roswal, him having his arms spread out. When Roswal raised his eyebrow at that distance, Ram looked up at him, and she said this. Ram, hold on to me gently, and please bring me to the mansion. The next request will happen there. 6 Subaru. So Ram is gone and Rem will be doing a clean sweep of the mansion work instead. This means we can also look forward to today's dinner. Beatrice, even though you are a person with a lot of free time, for you to bother coming to me to say something like that, it's awful. Sitting down on the stepladder, Beatrice sighs at Subaru, him having his thumb held up firmly. Subaru found Beatrice's library with lined-up bookcases, using his usual good intuition. He found the mysterious library in the mansion that she could go in and out of freely, and he was involving himself with that room's librarian. Having gotten tired of it, Beatrice also stopped saying anything about Subaru's guesswork, but she was not in a good mood after having her reading time disturbed. Subaru. Well, in your case, it's weird for you to not spend time reading, which means that you'll be in a bad mood every time I come, right? Eat small fish. Calcium, calcium. Beatrice. You not coming would be the best, I suppose. The best in terms of a simple solution. Subaru. Losing your temper too much is unhealthy, too. Aren't you scared of stuff like adult diseases from raising your blood pressure too much when you're little? Not that I know much about it. Beatrice. Not only are you ignoring the solution, but you're also even ignoring what I'm saying, I suppose. Beatrice raises her voice in frustration without changing Subaru's pace. She opens her big eyes widely, and Subaru laughed frankly with a ha-ha-ha at Beatrice, acting angry with her long, splendid drills swinging. Subaru. So now that I've had my quota of playing with Biko, I have a question for you. Beatrice. Did you just say, playing with me? Subaru. You misheard me. I said, playing along with Biko. Beatrice. Either way, I don't even remember playing with you. You are too selfish, I suppose. Being on the stepladder, Beatrice hits her forehead with her hand, and she felt dead with a tired look on her face. Subaru gazed at Beatrice acting like that, and when he put his hand on his chin, he said, Subaru, all right, calm down. So can I ask a question? By the way, even if you don't like it and refuse, I'll keep on asking until I get an answer, so it would just be a waste of time. Beatrice, I don't understand what you want when you reduce my will to answer and my will to decline. Beatrice suddenly jumps off the ladder, and she started to stamp her feet. This very reactive girl really was the only one he'd unconsciously get carried away with. He'd always reflect on himself, but when Beatrice was in front of him, the reflections would get smashed into pieces, so it was a problem. However, at the ending of her period of anger with her floor kicking and heavy breathing, Beatrice sighed, good grief, while hitting her forehead with her hand and said, Beatrice, whether it be a question or anything else, make it quick, I suppose. Then leave quickly and let me return to my healthy reading time. Subaru, in the end, you finally accepted it little by little, so I love Biko. Beatrice, stop stringing together pretentious words and say what you have to say, I suppose. Subaru, oh, okay, say, is there a special day coming up soon? Not something like a global event, but something in this mansion. It seemed like he was going to be driven out for real, so Subaru abandoned his substitute objective of getting carried away, and he started his main objective of asking his question. The question was, of course, aiming at the truth of the celebration. He didn't understand it even after asking Emilia and Puck, but if it was an extremely private event, then that would be a different story. And in that case, Beatrice, someone who has lived in the mansion for a long time, should know more details about it than people like Subaru and Emilia, as it hadn't been long since they came to the mansion. Subaru. So I asked you with that train of thought. Beatrice, an important day in this mansion. I can't possibly imagine Roswell paying attention to something like that. Subaru. If anything, it seems to be related to Ram more than it is to Rose-Kai. Beatrice. If so, then it's getting even more impossible to understand, I suppose. It's not like I'm special friends with those sisters. We don't even talk that much, I suppose. Subaru. Biko, you. In response to Beatrice's reply, her looking away as she snorted her nose with a humph, Subaru stiffens his cheeks. Afterwards, he kneels, matching the eyesight of the girl, and he tapped her on the shoulder. Subaru. Don't you get lonely living your life keeping people away? Beatrice. You are getting in the way of my reading. Get the hell ooh-woot. Subaru. Yagojurji. The moment Subaru mentioned the misery of that comment, he receives a shockwave from Beatrice's palm after the disappointing answer as she was enraged, and Subaru gets sent flying to the back, raising cries of pain. The door of the Forbidden Archives gets thrown open like that, and Subaru gets shot out of the library while rolling. Beatrice. Even if you visit, I won't let you in until I get called to dinner, I suppose. The door shuts along with that voice and vibrant sound. Having rolled on the corridor's carpet while facing down, Subaru manages to sit up while shaking his head. Subaru. Until dinner. I can't tell if her rage voltage is high or if it's low. His keep-out time was slightly short, perhaps because he told her to look forward to Rem's dinner. However, Beatrice not having an idea meant that he was off. Since he came this far, maybe waiting obediently for Ram's return would be a better idea than working behind the scenes. Subaru. But if I do that, it'd feel like I've lost. Rem. Lost what? Subaru. That is, I lost in a sense of a man's spirit. I'm lost with what I should do and for what purpose, and no matter how fired up with motivation I am, I don't get any results. Rem. That's how it is, I see, Subaru. This time it's about a celebration for Rem, so I especially didn't want to slack off. Rem. That's Subaru. Yeah, that's how it is. Wait. Subaru was trying to have a monologue, but he clearly realized that he was having a conversation with someone, and he turned around. When he did, he saw Rem put her hands on her blushed cheeks, wiggling her hips shyly. Rem closes her eyes, and when she let out a feverish sigh, she said, Rem. Subaru trying his hardest for me, that alone is enough to fill my heart. Subaru. Damn it. For me, of all people, to make a basic mistake. The situation wasn't so clever that you could put it as the crafty schemer drowning in his own scheme, but it was him being unlucky. If Ram found out that Rem heard him talk about the surprise plan for her, then he'd get killed. That's how Subaru lamented the future and shuddered, but Rem. So earlier Lady Emilia asked me, Rem, is there something you want or something you want to do? The mystery has been solved. Subaru. Emilia-tan isn't very motivated either. Rem, no, she'd say, hypothetically speaking. Every time between her questions as a preface, so I also couldn't go as far as to deepen my suspicions confidently. Subaru. She has some talent for being so bad at hiding things. Rem, you don't have to follow up. You suspected something was up, right? Rem. I'll keep it a secret for Lady Emilia. Rem smiles, and she refrains from saying anything as she tilted her head. That attitude of refraining from speaking showed Rem's gratitude towards Emilia in itself, but Subaru also didn't mention that again. However, when it became futile to keep his secret any longer, he also felt like giving in. Subaru. I feel sorry for Ram, but anyways that matter came up. EHSO, I have something I want to ask you, Rem. Rem, I can do whatever I want with Subaru for a day. Subaru. What did you say? Having a red face, Rem jumped the gun with some sort of remark. Rem responds to Subaru, him being taken aback by it, by clearing her throat as she said Rem. Sorry, I went a little too far. I couldn't help myself. Lady Amelia asked me what I wanted, so I thought about what I'd say. Subaru. Well, I did want to ask you something in that direction, too. It'd be best for you to want more nice things. And so what I wanted to ask you was, that was it. Subaru raises his finger, and he throws a question at Rem, her having reflected on herself. Although, it was weird to directly ask the question to the person herself. Subaru, is there any special day coming up that comes to mind? Although the celebration I talked about was actually Ram's idea. Rem, sister, did you say? Let me think. Subaru asks a question, and Rem goes into deep thought. However, it seemed like nothing came to Rem intuitively, even though she had excellent abilities as a maid with each schedule she had in the mansion. She frowns with her nicely shaped eyebrows, and while lowering her shoulders apologetically, she said Rem. No occasion in particular comes to mind, sorry. Subaru. No, you don't have to apologize, so I guess it is just something she came up with after all. In the end, if that calmed her down, then that would be it. It didn't occur particularly at the same time as an event. She just happened to want to thank Rem one day. Still, it didn't matter. It didn't matter, but Subaru. If that's the case, then the efforts were all for naught, and it would just be Rem finding out about the surprise. Ram. Finding out about what? Subaru. Like I said, the surprise, in other words, a celebration eep. Subaru breaks down the loan word, and he turns around to the back where his voice reached. And then he was captured in light pink eyes that were lighted with terribly cold passion. The one with the light pink eyes folds her slender arms, and she continues while having Subaru frozen with her look. Ram, if I say wait, even a dog can do that. If I say don't talk, even a baby can do that. What on earth are you doing, Barusu, someone who can't do either? Subaru. You see, yes, Ram. I can't believe how much shame you were able to show in just a single day. I'm actually impressed. Subaru hangs his head in response to the eyes and voice that weren't impressed at all without even being able to give an excuse. Taking the place of Subaru and appearing in front of her, the owner of the eyes, the one who confronted Ram was Rem. When she faced Ram, she joins the words please wait and says Rem. Sister, Subaru isn't at fault. He was just a little careless. Ram, that's not the right way to put it, Rem. It's the unbecoming mouth of a servant and stupidity. Subaru, I can't deny it. Rem, but Lady Amelia also, she was completely terrible at hiding it. Ram, yes, Lady Amelia got exposed too. Is the wind clogging your mouth? You are being too lenient. Rem, this is so shameful. Subaru gets glared at with sharp eyes across from Rem's follow-up, and he sunk instantly. Rem also didn't it wasn't a situation she could defend in the first place, so she showed a rare sight of her squirming while opening and closing her mouth. Then, at the place with a stalemate of those three each doing their own thing, there was a dry, stop sound. There was the sound of a clap in Roswell. Okay, let's stop this unproductive arguing. The one who forced his way in between the three of them with these words was a tall clown. No, it was Roswell. Ram had returned. It was natural for him to also be back at the mansion, as he had went out with her. With his usual easygoing behavior, Roswell looked around at the three of them and said Roswell. Anyhow, this isn't the first time Subaru was careless. Even if you blame him for it, it can't be helped. Besides, this isn't something that can be kept secret from Rem. Ram, Master Roswell, but... Roswell, it's okay to hide things. However, I don't think that would work this time, you know. Having shown a rejective attitude, Ram did not respond to Roswell continuing his words. Watching nearby, Subaru could not comprehend what was going on with the interaction between the two that understood each other. However, there was the true meaning of this celebration in the core of the interaction. Once he understood that, he made Roswell his focus. Subaru. I won't deny that I am guilty now, and I do seriously feel like apologizing, but what is this all about in the end? I want you to explain that to me. Roswell. And that is Subaru's order. He certainly does have a big mouth, but I do think that your insufficient explanation was greatly at fault. I wonder what I should do about Thei's. Subaru. Rose-kai. He did also stop the three-way deadlock, but Roswell was on Subaru's side this time. Or rather, he wanted this discussion to move on smoothly. It was unusual for him to not stir up complicated situations. Surely the true meaning of Ram's celebration was behind that unusual behavior. Ram receives looks from Subaru and the others, and she went into silence for a little while, appearing to have gone into deep thought. However, the answer should have already appeared within the smart girl. Ram, birthday Subaru. What? Subaru asks that to Ram, not being able to hear the quiet voice that came out like a whisper. When he did, Ram glared at Subaru unpleasantly and said, Ram, I said birthday. I wanted to celebrate that for Rem. Ram looks away when she said the latter half of her words, and she showed an unusual sight of stiffening her cheeks as if she got sulky. Ram acted like that, and everyone had their own reactions again. Roswal gave a wry smile, while Rem opened her eyes wide and stiffened up. And then since Subaru was dumbfounded, he said Subaru. Birthday, a birthday. Now that you mention it, that was a blind spot, or wait, I wish I realized that in the beginning. Not having birthday come to mind when he heard celebration at the start was his first oversight. It was also probably because he didn't imagine this world's customs to be that insistent on birthdays. However, right after he clapped his hands upon gaining understanding, Subaru puzzled with a wait as he said, Subaru, you said birthday, but since you and Rem are twins, isn't it your birthday too? Ram, well, yeah, Subaru, which means you said that sort of thing to celebrate your own birthday. What an indirectly shameless proposal. However, if it was Ram, then there certainly was a possibility for her to say something like that. Ram reached for Subaru's neck while he had those thoughts. He gets caught by that unexpected movement, and he gets pulled firmly. Ram's face was right by him as she said, Take a hint. This year's birthday is special to Rem. Subaru. Her heart, Ram. That girl's now definitely able to be happy with her own birthday from the bottom of her heart. It was a conversation where they talked with each other briefly and quietly. Then Subaru gets pushed aside, and he finally understood Ram's deepest thoughts, her turning away coldly as he staggered one step backwards. He understood Ram's birthday, it was not for herself. He understood the reason why she wished to celebrate Rem's birthday. Subaru, shit, if that's the case, then I really am a damn idiot. Ram, were you not aware? Subaru, can you not talk as if it's an outstanding surprise? Geez, I get it. If it's like that, then I'll give it all I got. I'll help with everything I have in me. Subaru resents Ram, who put her hand on her mouth and talked with a trembling voice, being nothing but dumbfounded. Even that reaction also made him realize that it was out of consideration for reducing the awkwardness of the previous conversation. Seeing that agreement between Subaru and Ram made Roswal pull his chin in approvingly. The one being left behind instead in that situation was Rem, the person who did not say anything even though the matter involved her. She looks around at the three of them while nervously putting her hands up and down in disturbance and says, just having you say that makes me really happy. I am so lucky. But for me to get special treatment. Rem shows her appreciation, and she chooses words to try and firmly decline the celebration, being nothing but grateful. She was a girl who would be scared of achieving happiness and being rewarded. That was something he understood when he tried to make a day off for her before. Rem got so confused just from him trying to get her to rest for a single day. Never mind the fact that her birthday was even on the same day as her sister's. Having a special celebration for her would be. Rem. I really can't make up for. Ram. I love you, Rem. Rem. She was at a loss for words. Rem touches her thin chest, and she chokes up over the words that came from her smiling sister. Ram looks towards her sister's surprised look with eyes full of affection and says, Ram, the preparations are finally set. The preparations to let you know just how much you mean to me and just how much you saved me are finally set. Rem, no, sister, I am the one that should for sister. Ram, if you care about me, let me give you special treatment, Rem. What I want the most in the world right now is that privilege. Ram closes some distance with one step. Rem looks down, being close to her. Meanwhile, Ram gets closer, one step at a time, and when she finally gets close enough to touch her, she brought her little sister close to her. Letting out a quiet ah, Rem's forehead settles into Ram's chest. Then, within the arms of her sister that hugged her affectionately, Rem nervously hugged her back. Rem, Sister. Ram, there, you're cute, Rem. Let me brag about that. Ram smiles in satisfaction at the voice mixed with sobbing, and she continues to pat Rem affectionately, so affectionately. He felt like it was a cut-out moment of seriously picture-perfect sisterly love. While looking at those sisters embrace each other, he said Subaru, "But this is a situation where Rose Kai and I aren't needed at all." Roswell. Interrupting this would be way too insensitive. Then, the two men exchange glances, and they shrug their shoulders, being left behind. 7 Ram. It was a bit different than what was planned, but I am relieved that we got Rem to accept it. Roswell. If it was back then, I wonder if she'd decline stubbornly, or if she'd accept it, but not with her true feelings either way. I really like the transformation. Roswell and Ram finish the daily healing at night in the office at the top floor of the mansion, and while having that matter lingering in their minds, they look back at the day. Roswell was sitting down on a chair. Being on his lap with her light body, Ram looked up at him while leaning on his surprisingly sturdy chest and said, "Ram, Master Roswell, thank you too for readily accepting my selfish proposal." Roswell. Well, I'm not sure how much I can help with the essential preparations, after all. I won't have any problem with something as little as approving the plan or offering a place for it. Ram, never mind Lady Amelia. Barusu's actions need to be paid attention to. There was sharpness in her voice. Roswell gave a bitter smile. By paying attention to Subaru's actions, she was probably talking about how he made a mistake of carelessly letting Rem find about the celebration. Or maybe it was her talking about how saying ridiculous things came with his personality. Roswell. However, we really do need his help to have Rem be happy with a birthday party. You must also be pretty conflicted about it, right? Ram. I'll try my best to compromise. Roswell. If you say that, then you might actually do it, but still. While patting Ram's head, her sitting in his lap, Roswell closed one of his eyes. With his blue eye, he looks at the girl right by him. Ram raises her head up to his eyes. Pink and blue light cross each other. Roswell. I respect your feelings of wanting to celebrate Rem. However, are you really okay with that? Ram. What I want is to see Rem be happy for the first time. Even if I'm blessed, what I want is for Rem to be happy. Also, Ram stops talking and she squints. Roswell chuckles at the true meaning that she couldn't clearly say. Roswell. What you want is time for me just for today, right? Ram. Yes. Was it immodest to get a present in advance? Roswell. As long as you admit it, I won't take it back. But I also have my own way to bless. Roswell deepens his smile at Ram, who hesitated to say anything, perhaps because it was an unexpected turn. While feeling the light weight of the girl on his lap, he thinks about the sisters' birthdays that were coming up, and he said, I will keep the blessing words you want until that day. So tonight will be the same as always. The moon that drew a semicircle outside the window illuminated their private talk. The blessing day was close. What would happen on that day, and what could be done? Ram pouts a little at Roswell, who strangely just seemed to be happy, and after that she loosened her lips. Let's celebrate, is what Ram said a few days ago. Ram's sudden proposal caused all of the Roswell residents, excluding one person, to get jumbled in immense chaos and suspicion, including Subaru. However, he was enlightened, and he nodded because now her true motive was clear. Ram. I want to celebrate Rem's birthday. This year is special for that girl. Subaru immediately raised a white flag in response to Ram's profile full of rare affection. It couldn't be helped. He completely gave in to help her. He couldn't handle that sort of look. Besides, he nodded to many parts of Ram's point. Being someone that undervalued herself too much and was humble about everything, Rem even managed to forget about her own birthday. Could she really forget about that anniversary, even when it was also her beloved older sister's birthday? Basically, that day was the only matter she unconsciously avoided. Subaru. But she can't. Avoiding celebrating your own birthday, there's no way that's possible. Subaru could not believe in Rem's unconsciousness, and he wholeheartedly approved of Ram's suggestion. Birthday, if there was a reason to celebrate that, then you could even put it as a way to show gratitude. He was always in Rem's care. He also insisted on that repayment. However, Subaru didn't put it like that, and he didn't think of it like that either. There was no need for such forced reasoning, because a birthday is for celebration. It was the best day that happened once a year when you could ask for selfish things. It was something that didn't have any special reason. That's what Subaru believed. It was common sense that he took with him, despite it being a different world. He wanted Rem to ask for whatever she wanted with confidence. She had that right. Everyone living in the Roswell residence came to that conclusion. Actually, putting it as a bundle called everyone would be somewhat misleading. The truth was that not everyone in this mansion was on board with the idea. On the contrary, there was only one person that was clearly against it. It wasn't even Roswell, someone who you could never tell what he was thinking. It wasn't even Beatrice, who would try to oppose the mansion's events at first. It wasn't even Emilia, who Subaru enjoyed while oddly explaining his strange festivals that he proposed. Incidentally, it wasn't Puck either. And of course, it wasn't Ram, as she was the one that came up with it. Which meant that it could be only one other person. It was none other than Rem herself. Rem. I'm so happy that sister and Subaru put in so much effort for me. I'm lucky. Those feelings alone are enough to fill my heart. That's why you really don't need to do this. Anyways, let's celebrate sister's birthday. Subaru. What do you mean, anyways? Subaru shouted at the empty sky without thinking, but Rem did not change her mind at all, in regards to her habit of being modest. However, there was a but. Canceling her birthday party this year because Rem herself declined. Subaru was against accepting a development like that obediently. And so Ram was also in agreement, as she literally wanted to spoil her beloved sister. Subaru and Ram's opinion matched in regards to this issue. They were complete accomplices. The two of them wanted to somehow celebrate Rem. They simply just had that iron will. However, it wasn't as if that was Subaru's only motive. That's right. While looking at the profile of his accomplice, he thought about things. The restraint and deep affection. The hidden plan and the decision. What would happen in the mansion because of all that? It was the beginning of an honorless, inhumane, and violent mutual celebration. To Ram. Stubborn Rem is cute, but it'll become a stalemate at this rate. Ram let out a sigh listlessly, sitting on the bed of the room while having her thin arms crossed. In front of her, Subaru looked up at the ceiling in agreement, puzzling over the same issue. Subaru was used to seeing this ceiling, but it was his room, so if you were to say that it was something natural, then yes, it was. It was becoming the time in the afternoon when he had a break during work. That was when Subaru and Ram met and groaned together in the room. Needless to say, the item on the agenda was the nearest birthday that was getting closer. Ram. At first, I thought Rem was convinced with how she reacted when we talked about the birthday celebration. Subaru. It seemed like she was going to accept it with the atmosphere, but for her to immediately revise it, that sure is like Rem. It was her usual habit of being restrained, but her humility is a problem too. Ram. Quit talking like it's somebody else's problem. That girl cowered because Barusu was being presumptuous and had to go stick his nose in. You lack self-awareness. Subaru. Well, it's not like I can deny it. Ram sighed at Subaru in the silence, him looking away as he admitted his mistakes awkwardly. Rem's delicate birthday party refusal came out the day after Ram announced the holding for her birthday party. When Ram spilled the beans about wanting to have a birthday celebration for Rem was moved to tears because of her sister's kindness, and she showed her gratitude. Everyone thought that the birthday party would be held for sure with those events. Subaru. Who would have thought Rem could break down when we asked her things like what she wants and what she wants us to do? Ram. Not could, she did break down. I made a mistake of not putting an end to it, too. I should have known with Rem's delicacy and Barusu's uselessness. Ram's sharp speaking causes Subaru to drop his shoulders, heartbroken. Just this one time, Subaru gave up on objecting. Ram's opinion was correct, at least for those points. Subaru was truly partly involved with Rem's change of heart, and on top of that, it was a big part, too. Consequently, they were having trouble persuading Rem, being someone who showed a tendency to be modest. Subaru. It would be great if Rem could reconsider it before the upcoming big day in the near future. If the worst comes to the worst, we also have the option of having a guerrilla warfare sort of birthday party, but I'm not sure what a guerrilla warfare birthday party would even be. Ram. Never mind the big day, it would have to be done very well anyway. Also. Then Ram stopped criticizing him, and instead she took a glance behind Subaru. Subaru follows her eyes, and he understood what caught her attention. He understood that she was interested in the desk that was there. Or to put it more precisely, it was something placed on top of it. Subaru, this is a cracker that I made myself. It is instant, but it's necessary for a party. Ram. A cracker? Subaru handed over a cracker as big as his palm to Ram, seeing how she was interested. She accepts it and gazes at it closely. It was something that rolled up cardboard into the shape of a cone, and the circular part was covered with a lid. Rubber was stretched out from the pointy part, and Ram was pulling on it lightly with her fingers. Ram, what is this toy used for? Subaru, really, you're gonna call it a toy? Well, you've grasped what it really is, though. However, as you'd expect, it seemed like Ram didn't do any further analysis of it. The cracker gets put back by Ram, who frankly did not understand its purpose, and then Subaru looked at her in a bit of a mischievous way. And then Subaru, take this! With the sound of rubber snapping, white confetti fell down with Ram as its target. Contrary to its size, a pretty large amount of pieces of paper fell onto Ram's head. This unexpected effect makes Ram's big eyes open wide, and Subaru smiles at that satisfying reaction. The instant cracker was something Subaru made all by himself, including the confetti inside of it. The knowledge he gained a long time ago from watching an educational program on TV proved to be useful. He was very grateful for the glasses guy. Subaru, whatcha think? Surprised you, right? It's a gem that's safe for children without gunpowder, and on top of that, it's even ecologically considerate since you can reuse it however many times you want. Ram. I see. Ram responds to Subaru's explanation, him acting prideful, by smiling after whispering with a low voice. For some reason, Subaru felt strange chills because of that lovely smile. While smiling at Subaru, him shuddering, she pinched a piece of paper on her head. Ram, this is a clever idea you'd expect from Barusu. I'll praise you for this, except for the fact that you showered me with it and you covered the room in paper waste. Subaru, be more straightforward with your praise. I'm sorry. It's standard to aim it at people. And if you're gonna call it paper waste, don't make it worse than scraps of paper. Subaru picks up a broom and dustpan at the corner of the room while defending himself against Ram's abuse. He had tools ready to collect confetti because he was making crackers on his own, and he fired them several times in his room. He quickly picks up the scattered confetti, and he put it back into the cracker. Now the loading was complete. It was an ecological good considerate of the environment and safety. Ram, Barusu, wait. Subaru, Ram held her hand out to Subaru, who had been blowing his own horn, to tell him to hand her a cracker. When Subaru obediently accepted that request, Ram looked at the cracker she received and said, Ram, did you test this a lot, Barusu? Subaru, it was a performance test, too. Oh, you want to try it now, too? I do understand how you feel, though. Ram, so you basically showered me with scraps of paper scattered on the floor along with stuff like dust and garbage. Subaru gets overpowered by Ram's tone of voice, and he looked away. Subaru, I guess you can put it like that. He did consider safety and the ecology of it, but he may have been lacking in the cleanliness department. It seemed they had different viewpoints on the matter of reusing confetti that fell on the floor. Ram. Barusu. Subaru responds to the low calling by nervously looking back at her. He met the eyes of Ram smiling. With a smile, she aimed the cracker at him. With the sound of a snap, Subaru's vision became pure white. 3 with this and that. His conversation with Ram that may or may not have been productive ended. Subaru walked unsteadily out of the room, and now he was heading towards the dining hall. It was unrelated to his meeting in his room with Ram, and he had another promise. And then, when he slid into the dining hall with stealthy footsteps, Rem, I've been waiting, Subaru. Here, come here. Subaru, so sorry for making you wait. I ran into a bit of trouble shaking off sister. Subaru gets greeted by a sweet, warm smell and a soft voice, and he said that while scratching his head. The one who shook her head in response to Subaru's words was Rem, who had been waiting for Subaru in the dining hall. Right after his private talk with Ram, Subaru met up with Rem, who he arranged a meeting with. Of course, there was a reason for this secret rendezvous that was out of everyone's sight. Rem, so Subaru, did it go fine with sister? Subaru, don't worry. As of now, it seems she hasn't noticed our plan. She's been deceived perfectly. Rem, that makes me feel relieved. But we can't be careless. Sister is perfect even in those kind of insights. Evading sister's eyes is probably next to impossible for me and even Subaru. Subaru, you have so much faith in sister that our precautions are going to waste. That said, Rem's assessment of her sister wasn't a complete exaggeration. In actuality, Ram's insight was not something to make light of. It was especially responsive to evil schemes. And so Subaru also had to be very careful to try and keep up an appearance during his conversation with Ram. Because at any rate, Subaru and Rem were working together to plan a conspiracy with Ram as the opponent. Rem, I'm so happy that sister and Subaru want to celebrate me, but I can't just neglect sister because of that. Subaru, that's why we're planning a counter surprise without letting Ram know. It's a plot where Rem and I will be the instigators, and we'll play a trick on sister while her guard is down. Rem, yes, as expected, Subaru's ideas are the best in the whole world. At first, when Subaru proposed this idea to me, I couldn't stop trembling from how devious it was. Subaru, devious, you say? I guess the evil in me just got a bit stronger. Rem tilted her head curiously in response to Subaru sighing, unsure of whether it was praise or not. Anyhow, on the other side of Rem's birthday party event, they were actually secretly working on a surprise birthday party plan for Ram. Subaru and Rem meeting at the dining hall like this was linked to that surprise plan, but there was another purpose for it besides having a secret talk. That was Rem. This is a way for me to show my gratitude towards sister, although it is a mere token. Rem made a humble pose, but Subaru reflexively swallowed his spit in reaction to the scene before him. There was the cause of the sweet aroma that filled the room. Various sorts of sweets were lined up on the table. He could see the degree of Rem's enthusiasm with those sweets that needed more than just the fingers of both her hands. Subaru, if this is a mere token, then Rem's gratitude seems to be infinite. Rem, my feelings towards sister are infinite after all. The way she threw her chest out with a little pride as she said humph looked lovely. He smiled seeing Rem talk about Ram because she was someone who would often act unconfidently. Ram also looked the same when she talked about Rem. Subaru, all right, how about I get a taste of a part of those endless feelings for my incompetent self? Rem, sure, there are plenty of things that haven't been tried yet, so please tell me your honest opinion. Rem bows, and she waited next to Subaru, who headed towards the table. And then, Subaru smacked his lips while being pleased by the benefits of the plates of sweets that were introduced in succession. The familiar baked sweets had a sweetness that vaguely ringed a bell. However, there were a lot of sweets he saw for the first time that were characteristic of this different world, too. What really impressed him in particular was the dish that looked like a steamed potato and made warm steam drift about. But the truth was that it was clearly different from a steamed potato. Subaru, no way, it's not just a mere steamed potato, but a... Rem, that's right, Subaru. It is the baked potato dish sister and Lady Amelia came up with for Subaru. Not wanting to be outdone, there were many trial and errors, and I made it. Subaru, the potato is melting apart in my mouth, and yet I can still taste the sweetness on my tongue. What the hell is this? What the hell, so good? What the hell? Rem, if you are that happy with it, then working it out was worth it for me, too. Subaru showed his praise for the bite again, continuously admiring Rem as she smiled happily. Rem was happy about all that, and Subaru also was eating up the sweets without caring about the calories. After that, he enjoyed the after-meal tea, and he pleasantly let out a sigh of satisfaction. Subaru, I have no complaints. It was all made so splendidly. Something like this will blow away even sister. Rem, thank you. Well then, I'll clean up now. There's still time until dinner, so stay hungry in the meantime, Subaru. Subaru, yeah, it would be a problem if Ram got suspicious of the reason behind me not having dinner. Rem, that's right, so. Then Rem paused, and she reached out to touch Subaru's cheek with her hand. When Subaru stiffened up in an instant, wondering what just happened. She gently moved her finger and said, "There was a tiny bread crumb. There's a possibility of sister noticing it, even if it's this small." Subaru. I see. Thanks a lot." When Subaru scratched his cheek in embarrassment, Rem brought that bread crumb towards her lips as she said, "No problem." Subaru felt even more embarrassed because of her licking it like that with her tongue stuck out. Rem, who gazed at Subaru mischievously, said Rem, "Okay then, see you later." Subaru. Then her cheeks turned slightly red and she showed him out. 4. While stroking his bulged stomach that had a feeling of sweet fullness, Subaru secretly went away from the dining hall. If he carelessly came across Ram like this, that would be the end of him. Not only did he have to be cautious with his speech and conduct, but he had to be cautious with his actions in the mansion, too. This was because Ram wasn't the only one he had to be careful of, and he couldn't even show Rem what he was going to do now, after all. Emilia. Subaru. Suddenly, Subaru was called out to quietly while walking with caution. When he looked around at his surroundings, there was a room with a slightly opened door, and he saw a white hand beckoning him from it. Subaru headed towards the room in accordance with that beckoning. And then, when he slid into the room without a sound, she said, "Emilia, did it work out fine? Nobody found you, right?" Subaru. "Based off of what I saw, nobody was there. Emilia-tan, how about you?" Emilia. "It worked out for me, too. I saw Ram far away taking in clothing, and Subaru has been with Rem, yes. So there's no need to worry." The one who said that and puffed up with pride going ahum was a girl with braided hair, Emilia. While giving a wry smile at that somewhat smug look, Subaru continued as he went still and said, "Subaru, why in this room? We were supposed to meet in Emilia-tan's room." Emilia. "I heard what Subaru and Rem were doing in the dining hall, so I really couldn't wait. I couldn't just stand around." Subaru. "Were you scared of me screwing up?" Emilia. "I wouldn't put it like that, but something pretty close to that, maybe." She gives a vague answer to avoid offending him, and that vague truth hurt him. That said, they were lucky that they managed to meet up without being seen by anyone. There was a reason why Subaru and Emilia were having a secret talk like this without people knowing about it. As for what that reason was, Emilia. "So, has Rem noticed anything? As in, has she noticed that we're preparing to celebrate Rem's birthday while Rem is preparing to celebrate Ram's birthday?" Subaru. "That was a really complicated explanation, though that is because we are doing something complicated." Emilia. "I also feel like I'm going to mix up things a bit when I talk about it." Subaru shrugs his shoulders, saying, "Good grief," while Emilia stuck her tongue out with a shy smile. This was the reality of the birthday parties currently happening behind the scenes at the Roswell mansion. Just like Ram had suggested at the beginning, people were talking about proceeding with the preparations for Rem's birthday party. Ram should have been able to be an accomplice in this, being someone who became blind when it came to her younger sister. On Rem's end, she was under the illusion that it was related to a conspiracy that was reversing Ram's proposal and planning a main celebration not for herself, but for Ram. However, the ones making plans for the birthdays were actually the sisters Ram and Rem, and it was a birthday party for both of them. The sisters were both preparing for it without knowing about that. Subaru. Those two sure do have some bothersome personalities with this and that. Emilia. Ram and Rem both have this really stubborn side of them after all. Subaru. In the end, that's what it means to be sisters. They're both exactly alike with their weird traits. He sighed because not only were they two peas in a pod with their looks, but they were unnecessarily alike with their stubborn sides, too. Rem was not the only one who was refusing to celebrate the upcoming birthday. Rem's birthday was a different case. The problem was that Ram also disapproved of celebrating herself. Although Ram's excuse was that she even wanted to dedicate all of the effort she put in for herself towards blessing Rem. Subaru. And she thinks that Rem can be happy without any qualms. Surprisingly, she doesn't get it either. Emilia. Ram thinks what Rem thinks, and Rem thinks what Ram thinks. Subaru. That's how the tactics came about, though. Honestly, not knowing where I might make a stupid mistake as a double spy makes me feel nervous. He wasn't rubbing his stomach while speaking just because of his full stomach from sweets. He was doing it also because of the intense stomach pain that came from the psychological warfare that was the climax of these last few days. Seeing Subaru's state, Emilia also lowered her nicely shaped eyebrows worriedly, and she said, "Emilia, Subaru, are you okay? I would actually be fine with taking your place." Subaru. "Well, I'm even making Emilia Tan lie, as you know the circumstances, and that's something you're not used to. Having to do my best to hang in there is natural, since I'm someone that meets with them a lot. Besides, Subaru was the one that first suggested this situation. He was suffering, as a matter of course, in two ways. Subaru, but everything is for surprising the two of them on the day. When I think of that, trouble like this is nothing to me." Emilia. "Yeah, this might sound inconsiderate, but this is really fun for me." Subaru. "Is Emilia Tan's path towards becoming a little demon blooming? This is not the time to give a metal rod to an Oni." Emilia. "Sorry, I don't really understand what you're getting at." He drops his shoulders in response to Emilia's indifferent reply. However, Emilia being there with him was more than enough to save him, since it meant that he was not alone in thinking about the two of them. When he thought about how there was their blessing ahead of this stomach pain, he kind of felt like stomach heartburn. Subaru, and so, Emilia Tan will have to take the challenge in this pinch of time for a little longer. Don't push yourself too hard is what I'd like to say, but if you're going to get exposed, then push yourself. Emilia. "Of course I know, is there anything else I can do?" Subaru. "Right, for now, how about you get pumped?" Emilia. "Okay, hold on a second. Okay, done." Subaru. "Cute." Subaru gets charmed by Emilia as she firmly clenched her fist, and he ended the progress report. When they were about to leave the room, they both swore to do their best in what would come up ahead, and they swung into action separately. Emilia, "Subaru, let's make this a success no matter what." Subaru, "You got it." They bump each other's firm fists, and Subaru watched Emilia run out of the corridor in a hurry. Emilia carefully peeks out the window, puts her ear to the floor to listen for footsteps, checks for signs of life in her surroundings as she sent lesser spirits flying, and she ran while having her whole body sparkle with light from mana. Subaru keeps watching that appearance, which was so pleasant that he couldn't help but smile, and he let out a deep sigh, thinking, "Just like I thought, I feel sorry, but my judgment was right." Subaru. "All right then." Subaru turns around, and he started walking towards the opposite side of Emilia. At this time, nearly 1 hour had passed since his conversation with Ram, and his break became a little long. However, that wasn't a problem he could blame. There was still another person he had to meet up with, and if there were to be someone that would blame Subaru, that right would go to that exact person anyways. Subaru. This should be it. He walked around the mansion unsteadily, and he felt slightly relieved from not encountering anyone while doing so. After that, Subaru touched the doorknob of a plain guest room, and he opened it. Inside there was Roswell. "Mai, you sure took a long time, Subaru." There was a bookshelf filled with countless rows of books, and a man that looked like a clown with his back leaning against it. Roswell L. Mather's smile greeted Subaru. 5 Roswell. "So, how'd deceiving the 3 of them go?" Subaru. "Roswell, what's wrong?" Subaru. "No, it's just that it feels like I've been repeating the same sort of interaction in this short time span. Once again, I'm truly understanding the feelings of guilt from being a triple spy." Roswell. Well, I understand how you feel. Boot, thinking of valuable experiences, this would be one too. Isn't it important to have fun? In fact, Lady Emilia seems to be doing so. Roswell closes one eye, and with a jestful gesture, he made fun of the last interaction. When that made Subaru open his eyes wide, he pointed at his own ear and said, "Roswell, these ears are custom made. That was a joke, but if it's in the mansion, it's possible to hear the voices you're trying to hear. Lady Emilia's is one that stands out in particular." Subaru. "I agree with that too. Although, there's no doubt that she really is taking this seriously." Subaru remembered her standing out, even though she was being careful to not stand out when she parted with him. Emilia's characteristic of always being serious was a virtue. But on the other hand, she was not fit at all for things like attempting to deceive people. And so, since she was unfit for hiding things, in replacement of Emilia, Subaru, "We have us, the beginning 4 people that will carry out the true evil scheme." Beatrice. Don't just mix me into that disgraceful meeting, I suppose. A screechy, angry voice went over Subaru, his arms folded while making a declaration in a dignified manner. Once he took a look, the one who had a red face and shouted was a girl sitting on a stepladder in the middle of the room. It was Beatrice. She was the caretaker of this secret talks place, the Forbidden Archives, and she was one of the beginning 4 people. Beatrice. Now, what the hell is that beginning 4 people thing about? Subaru. The beginning part was added on solely because it just felt right with the situation, but it means that we are the real accomplices. We are the people needed to make this plan a success. That's what it means. Beatrice. Grrr. Beatrice had a frown that showed because of her frustration, but that didn't lead to her bringing out forceful measures to kick out Subaru and the others. That showed her dishonest personality. Subaru. Anyhow, thanks for coming. I'm in your debt. Subaru sets aside Beatrice, grinding her teeth angrily, and he turned his attention to the library. There was Beatrice sitting on a stepladder, and Roswell leaning his back onto a bookshelf. And so now, including Subaru, there were 3 people that came to this room in the end. The last person was Puck. I'd appreciate it if you didn't make fun of Leah too much. Her honest side is the cutest side of them all. While saying that, a gray kitten, Puck, made his appearance to get under Beatrice's drills. He left Emilia, and he was the last person, someone who was used to Beatrice. Subaru, Roswell, Beatrice, and Puck, these were the beginning people. Subaru. Well, the one who started it was actually Ram, so we aren't the beginning ones all. Roswell. I don't dislike it. It's way more exciting than an uncolorful title like Mere Accomplices. Don't you think so, Mr. Great Spirit? Puck. I feel the same way, so Betty, cheer up. Your cute face will go to waste if you keep looking angry, you know. Beatrice. HMPH, I guess I have to if Pucky says so, I suppose. Beatrice holds onto Puck gently, who was rubbing his cheek against hers, and she reluctantly accepted the situation. Once Subaru made sure of that, he clapped his hands as he said, All right. Subaru. Okay, time to sort out the current situation again. About Ram and Rem's birthday that got a few days closer, the preparations for the party are proceeding steadily. They shouldn't know about the plan, either. Right, Rose-Kai. Roswell. You're asking me about Ram, right? We do talk to each other every night alone. At the very least, it appears no suspicion has surfaced yet. Subaru. All right, please keep it that way, since Ram is probably the biggest obstacle to this plan. There was also the barrier of Rem's habit of being modest, but she followed the Ram surprise plan, which was a cover story, and the suspicion in her eyes was pretty much out of sight. Simply put, the thing he had to be careful of the most was Ram's sight. However, things were still proceeding pretty carefully thanks to Roswell's cooperation, who knew the sisters the best. Subaru. Surprisingly, thanks to Rose-Kai's cooperation, this will save some time. Roswell. I am relatively open to your ideas, you know. Although it is true that I'd usually have to monitor the circumstances a lot, and this time it's about Ram and Rem. The tone, with very rare deep affection, makes Subaru smile slightly as he saw Roswell in a new light. Subaru was not the only one who treasured Ram and Rem, although that was a given. Thinking back, he did remember Roswell grieving over Rem's death in the loop where she died during the Witchbeast turmoil. He probably had so many memories from being with them for 10 years. Subaru. Now you just need to. Roswell. There's no way I wouldn't be on board with an exciting proposal of a plan to hide something from Ram and Rem. Subaru. As expected, that's the Rose-Kai I know. So filthy. Roswell. You'll make me blush if you praise me that much. Subaru plays along with Roswell, him returning to his usual manner, and he also smiled brightly, giving a thumbs up. After that, he turned towards Beatrice, who had a sulky expression, and said, Subaru, goddamn, people are being smoothly united, and yet you keep acting like this. You're gonna completely lose it when I tell you to read the atmosphere. Beatrice. So it finally came out of your mouth. Beatrice stares at Subaru, him being unabashed, and she let out an extremely deep sigh. Beatrice. I'm not really accepting you saying this and that about the plan now. But once we finish this, those 3 that we fooled will be angry, no doubt about it. Subaru. Yeah, well, I guess. But this is the one thing we just have to think of as necessary cost. Never mind, Rem, this would even make Emilia have a bad mood. And above all, Ram's anger would be as clear as day. However, Roswal smiled at Beatrice's and Subaru's fear and said, Roswal, come on. Don't you know that I'll be there to apologize with you guys as well when the time comes? Besides, we are accomplices. Puck, Leah's involved too, so I'll also be there. Even Puck went along with Roswal's approval. The unity was quite unexpected. Perhaps inside this evil scheme the bonds of the beginning four people deepened, and a strong sense of trust connected them together. Subaru, my God, it's my first time feeling like this with an evil scheme. I'm not afraid of anything anymore. Beatrice, even if Pucky and Roswal are there, the one who will be in the most trouble is you. Subaru, hee, when that happens, you'll be there with me too, Biko. Beatrice, according to your dictionary, it seems accomplice means someone you bring into your own mess, I suppose. Beatrice had enough of Subaru, and she shrugged her shoulders, unable to play along with his nonsense. However, if Subaru had to describe that reaction, it would not be farsightedness but practice. Beatrice finally adapted to the days of getting teased repeatedly. Roswal, maybe an angry expression fits her the beast. Subaru, agreed. Beatrice, it got done without anyone getting mad, and yet my consideration didn't even matter with you guys. Cheers for Beatrice, who had confessed to being cautious of getting mad. Subaru, anyways, in preparation for the big day of the birthday party, from here on out I expect each of you to work your butts off. Roskai, you have continuing to watch out for Ram. And Puck, you'll take care of Emilia, the decoy, or for short, you'll take care of the Decoliatan follow-up. Beatrice, you'll be standing by at the headquarters just like you are now. Beatrice, God, go ahead and do what you want. I sup headquarters. Beatrice's surprise from having the forbidden archives being turned into the beginning four-people headquarters gets put aside, and the three men of the Roswal residence bump their clenched fists. Just Puck used his whole body. Thus, the intensity of the furious mutual celebration that circled the birthday party began to increase. 6. Ram knitted her brows and pondered about how people were scheming something. The possible people were mainly Rem, Emilia, and incidentally, Subaru. If she were to restrict them to people that had secrets, Master Roswal was the first one that bothered her, but him scheming something without telling anyone was just the usual. She wasn't worried about him at this point. And so, if there was something people besides Roswal, aka her younger sister and others, were hiding from her, it would be Ram. It's a birthday party, isn't it? She didn't need to think deeply on it to understand it, but even if she didn't, there was no other answer anyways. Besides, Rem's birthday party that Ram proposed herself. Putting it correctly, the intention of it was to celebrate Rem by holding a birthday party for Ram and Rem. Everybody knew Rem was nervous of that getting carried out, but it seemed like Subaru was trying to outwit Ram, though he should have had the role of persuading Rem. God knows how that happened. Whether he really was outwitting her or not was questionable, but Rem... Ah, sister! Suddenly, Rem's expression becomes bright in a flash, having met her at the corridor, and she ran up to her. She looked truly lovely with her sparkling eyes. Ram's wrinkles between her eyebrows disappeared in the blink of an eye. Ram. Oh, what's wrong, Rem? Running in the corridor is shameful. Rem, sorry. I couldn't help myself since I was so happy from seeing sister. Well, there isn't really any special reason why I got happy. There isn't, but oopsie. Ram, no special reason, huh? Rem, nope, none at all. But I don't think there needs to be any reason for me to run up to sister. I'm not sure what I'm saying. Rem's energy that she had disappeared like mist, and she looked down, dispirited. While tilting her head at that situation, Ram caressed her cute sister's cheeks to comfort her. Ram, it's not really weird. I'm an older sister that you just want to run up to automatically, after all. I don't blame you for how you feel, Rem. Rem, you're so right. Ah, sister, well then, I'll see you later. I'm looking forward to something coming up in a few days. Or well, not that I know anything about it, though. Ram, I see. Rem waves her small hand, and she hurried herself out of there. Ram waved her goodbye just like she did, and when she was no longer able to see her, wrinkles appeared between her eyebrows again. What was Rem trying to tell her with that interaction? Or maybe she should investigate what she didn't want to tell her. Ram's sisterly heart had to make a choice. Emilia. Ah, Ram. Ram heard her name being called once again as she was getting lost in her thoughts. When Ram lifted her face, she saw Emilia walking quickly towards her. She looked around at her surroundings restlessly, and while silencing her footsteps as she carefully stepped on the floor, she said, Emilia, can I borrow you for a second? Ram, I don't mind, but why are you talking so quietly, Lady Emilia? Emilia, you see, there's a really important reason for that, but I can't talk to you about that, Ram. It wasn't just you. I can't tell Rem either, Ram. So, being close enough to breath on her, Emilia spoke quietly while putting her hand on her mouth. She was certainly being careful with how loud she spoke, but Ram felt like she wasn't being careful at all with essential words and actions. However, Emilia put Ram's thoughts aside, and as she made her amethyst eyes sparkle, she said, Say, Ram, just out of curiosity. It really is just out of curiosity, but can I ask you something? Ram, depends on the question. Emilia, so if, and I mean only if, okay? If I listened to one request from you and you could get something you wanted, what would you ask for, Ram? Ram. Emilia's fastball that pretended to be a straight ball made Ram blank out for a moment. Ram was certainly squinting because of the suspicion that this was some sort of instruction. However, she saw Emilia peeking at her repeatedly, and she was smiling due to her unconcealable anticipation. Ram knew that Emilia wasn't acting because of the life she had with Emilia for half a year. In other words, Emilia wasn't scheming anything. She was just not hiding the fact that something was being schemed. Ram. Maybe acting ability. Emilia. Acting ability like for a play. Ram, you want to have a play? Rams. No, acting ability for Lady Emilia. Emilia. My acting, gosh, stop joking around with me. I am being really serious with this question. Ram. What about it being just out of curiosity? Emilia. Oh, right, it's a talk. It's a talk, but a serious talk. Nope, not sloppy at all. The way she went about deception was really sloppy. Ram was surprisingly at a loss for a reply to Emilia's serious but sloppy behavior. Irresponsibly dodging the issue here was a possibility, but wouldn't be a basic solution. Having said that, Emilia, what's wrong? Innocently tilting her head, Emilia wasn't nervous at all from Ram's light pink suspicions. This was most likely the aura of not being told anything important. Emilia was delivered as a blatant decoy, and she was given practically no information. She was impressed by the good move. Emilia, so. Ram, have you decided what you want? Ram, I would like Lady Emilia to be a little more suspicious of the people around her. Emilia, hee, I didn't even want you to tell jokes right now. Oh, Ram, you are funny. Ram, please give me the ability to persuade. Emilia, Ram, why have you only asked for abilities? Are you worried about something? Ram made a seriously worried look, and she wanted to let out a deep sigh. But she was certain that sighing would cause her to worry, so she dealt with it. Ram, let's see, I'll think about it until dinner. Emilia, okay, it's really important, so answer it seriously. With a look that indicated she had forgotten about the interaction from just before, Emilia seriously left her that message. Emilia, and then while she was leaving, she raised her voice as if she remembered the fact that she had to hide from people, and midway she started to walk again with soft footsteps. Puck. Oops. Just when Emilia was about to go out of her sight, she saw a kitten from a gap in her silver hair. He put his paw on his head, and he stuck his tongue out mischievously. Subaru. Sup, Ram. What you doing standing at a place like this? Your face, oh God. Ram. Huh! Ram pompously lets out the sigh she had held in, and she glared up at Subaru, who was standing next to her. When Subaru stiffened his cheeks in response to the sharpness of that look, he said, Subaru. WH, what happened to you? You seem so tired, and that's not like sister. Ram, if this is Barusu's scheme, I've now fallen right into your hands. Are you satisfied, Barusu? Subaru. That makes me look bad, and what's up with you? Ram, go ahead, push your luck all you want. I'll be the one laughing in the end. Subaru. Wait, I don't understand. Let's calm down and talk this out, Ram. Once Ram smacked her lips, clearly seeing through him, and Subaru panicked as if he encountered a wounded beast. Ram felt a little better while looking at that, and when she folded her arms to hold onto her elbows, she said, Ram, fine, I'll talk with you. So, how's it going with Rem? Subaru, OHOH, that's better. It's like progressing, but slowly. Rem is easing up little by little. It's a forceful approach, but it feels like it's just a matter of time until she breaks. Ram, yeah. Subaru, why hasn't there been any sharpness? Is there something you're displeased with or something? Ram, if I had to say something, it would be, Subaru, yes. Ram, Barusu's face. Subaru, I wish you'd get used to it already and love it. Ram snorted at Subaru as he put his hands on his cheeks, his voice shaking with a horrible smile on his face. She could have just asked Subaru directly about what he was planning here, but he probably would never confess. That showed the difference in difficulty in comparison to how it was with Emilia. Even if the situation got bad, he would just play it off with jokes, which meant that questioning him wouldn't be effective. Ram, by the way, Lady Emilia seemed kinda weird. Barusu, do you know why? Subaru, she seemed weird, like how? Ram, right, she was trying to hide her fidgeting, but it wasn't hidden at all. Subaru, sounds cute just hearing it, but I see not hidden at all, eh? In response to Ram's words, Subaru looked down listlessly, but there was no sign of that being a heavy blow in the slight change of his expression. In other words, Emilia's behavior was taken into account now. Nothing came out of Emilia, most likely nothing from Rem either, and so Subaru, what? Something wrong? Ram, no. When she gave him a sidelong glance, Subaru made an openly panicked expression. Having seen that reaction right before her eyes, Ram let out a slight, fleeting sigh. As she thought, Subaru was most likely hiding the full story, too. The days passed by wrapped in doubt and suspicion, and finally that day arrived. Rem, sister, good morning. It's a very important morning. Then there was a lovely voice that first shook Ram's eardrums, her lying down on a bed. When she slowly opened her eyes, she noticed the bright morning sun shining in from the other side of the open curtains. And then, the appearance of Rem smiling with her head tilted came at her inside of the illuminated room. Ram, 5 more minutes. Rem, you can't, sister. I'd like to grant sister's wish too if I could, but I can't today. Now please wake up. Ram, my goodness, I can't believe Rem is being strict with me. I'm not getting up today. Rem, see, sister. Ram, just kidding. Come on, Rem, help me change. Ram resisted being pulled forcefully by the arms. However, the moment Rem let out a slightly sad voice in response to that resistance, she woke up as if a switch was flipped. After that, with the usual routine, she got her face wiped with a steamy towel, and she took off her nightgown as she changed into her uniform. Then she fixed her hair, and once she saw herself reflected on the full-length mirror, she was done. Ram, perfect, right? Rem, yes, as expected of sister, I'm proud of you. In response to Rem's reply, her being in a very good mood, Ram took a look at her sister's profile. Once Ram saw her being in a good mood, looking as if she was about to even start humming, she forced herself to hold back on saying the feelings she was about to put into words. Once she left the room with Rem, the sisters headed towards the mansion's entrance. That was where they'd meet with Subaru, and they'd confirm each other's plans for the day. It was the usual way they went about it. However, today didn't go like that. Ram, Barusu isn't here. I suppose he's sleeping in. Rem, what? No way. Subaru would never sleep in. Rem's footsteps resound throughout the empty entrance, and she immediately objected what Ram said in a low tone. However, for some reason that objection sounded really monotone to Ram. Ram, Rem, sniff, sniff, no, sister, leave it up to me. Subaru is definitely somewhere around here. Sniff, Rem stops Ram with her hand, as she squinted with her eyes, and she started to walk while cutely sniffing with her nose. The Oni clan did develop an above-average sense of smell, but at the very least, Ram's sense of smell wasn't good enough to recognize a specific scent from someone. She was seriously hoping that Rem was pretending. Putting Ram's hopes aside, the place Rem arrived at as she walked ahead was the dining hall. Rem, sister, it seems like Subaru is in here. What should we do? Ram, we can just call him from out here. Rem, no, we can't. Subaru has really bad hearing, so he might not even notice if sister calls out to him. This is where sister should go directly inside. Rem gave up the place to Ram as she went, come, and she guided her towards the door of the dining hall. Ram unconsciously got overpowered by her sister's threatening attitude, but she snorted her nose slightly before she reached for the door. As stated before, the Oni clan developed a sense of smell that was above average. It certainly wasn't as precise as an animal's, but it was still better than humans' sense of smell. And so, Ram's sense of smell that was better than a human's sensed a slightly sweet and warm smell coming from the gap of the dining hall's door. Rem, sister. When she looked back with her eyes, she saw Rem clenching her fist with an expression of unconcealable expectation. If she had, say, something like a dog's tail, she would have been intensely shaking it back and forth. She couldn't betray her expectations. Ram showed a rare sight of her praying towards the heavens for that truth and her sense of duty as an older sister. She prayed, as she had earnestly wished for Emilia, to have that acting skill herself. Ram, Barusu, are you there? Ram continues to speak in a natural manner, and she opened the door as she twisted the doorknob. At the other side of the door that opened slowly, she vaguely saw who was standing there, and it happened the next moment. Subaru, happy birthday. Someone shouts in a loud voice, and confetti exploded at the same time she heard something that sounded like air bursting. That scene was familiar to her. Ram squinted her eyes. And then Subaru. Ha ha ha, how do you like them apples? This surely Supris, right beside Subaru, who acted triumphant while laughing. An iron sphere came piercing through with tremendous force. The rotating dangerous weapon that had thorns on it just barely missed Subaru, and only the sound of the twisting chains could be heard loudly throughout the mansion in the morning. Sorry Subaru, there was a sudden loud sound and I just... Subaru. Rem brings the iron sphere back to her, as she reflexively tried to counterattack, and she ran up to Subaru, who stiffened up. Subaru feels his body, and after making sure that he was safe, he said, I almost died there, right? Ram. I forgot to tell you, but if you try out the crackers on Rem, you might even get smashed into pieces by this girl who thought it was a surprise attack. Subaru. Can you please deal with those sort of time bombs earlier? In reaction to Ram's unconcerned speaking, Subaru's voice squeaks, as he trembled from the fear of nearly dying. Ram was earnestly apologizing to the side, but Subaru felt like it was a good lesson, having gotten carried away with himself. He kinda wanted Ram to put herself in his shoes, who kept making his worry worse up to this point. Ram. So, was this some kind of sideshow? Subaru. It's not a sideshow. You get the gist of it, don't you? If not, then here's the trump card. Emilia Tan, do it. Emilia. Leave it up to me. Subaru snapped his fingers to answer Ram. When he did, Emilia puffed up with pride, who was in the dining room as she responded to that sound. When she held out her graceful fingers towards the ceiling, she said, Puck. Puck. Okay, Leah, it's still morning, so I'm kinda sleepy, but let's do this with gusto. The gathering light takes form, and a kitten's spirit appeared at Emilia's fingertips. And then, the person and the animal gnawed at each other, and the transmitting light completely covered the dining hall's ceiling. That light clears up. Then there was Emilia. It's an ice decoration. Subaru. I designed it. The ice interior was well done too, but how about you take a look at it? Rem. Sister, could that be a picture of you and me? Inside of the dining hall that was engulfed in light, there were various creations of decorations formed with ice, but the one that stood out remarkably was a drawn ice painting that used the whole ceiling. The shading was done with the use of the ice's unevenness, and the picture replicated was a portrait of the sisters. At a glance, you could understand that it was Ram and Rem snuggling. Subaru. This is a birthday party for Ram and Rem from me, Emilia Tan, and everyone in the mansion. Emilia. That's right. We worked really hard for this day. Rem. Yes, this is sister and my birthday party. What? It's mine too. Subaru and Emilia puff up with pride, and Rem was amazed as she almost agreed with that. It seemed like she didn't have the right idea of the situation. Rem was probably told that the birthday party was only Ram's to mislead Rem's tendency to be modest. She had thoughts on Rem's honesty of having not noticed that and on Subaru's heinous behavior. She had thoughts, and yet Ram. Even if she had thoughts, the words wouldn't come out. Roswell, my oh my ye, this went better than I expected. From behind, a big palm gently held onto Ram's shoulder as she was at a loss for words. Once she turned around because of that feeling and warmth, she saw the face of a man that made her heart throb no matter how many times she saw it. He smiles as if he saw through all of the feelings that filled Ram's heart, and he said Roswal. It was difficult keeping this a secret until today. Boo-woot, it was all worth it after I look at the face she had right now. Don't you think, Subaru? Yeah, it was. You don't get to see Ram dumbfounded all that often. It was difficult, but looking back on the parts that were difficult, Ram aims at Subaru's triumphant face, and she made her own crackers explode. Subaru reflexively fell over in response to the sound of air bursting and the confetti. Subaru. No way. When in the world did you make a cracker, Ram? It has a simple makeup, so I made it immediately. Incidentally, I also made it so that the scraps of paper inside would cling onto the person they got onto. Subaru. So that's why it won't come off my face. I can't see. Rem, Subaru, don't scratch your face so much. Let's go wash your face before it gets damaged. This way. Rem pulls onto Subaru's hand, him being in agony, and she started to head towards the bathroom with him. Amelia followed them from behind worriedly, but before she left the room, she turned towards Ram and said, "Oh, right, Ram. I prepared what you wanted. Haha, are you surprised?" Ram, what I wanted. After Amelia's words, her appearing to be happy, Ram turned her attention to the dining hall table. There were probably kinds of Rem's homemade pastries lined up, and she was going to take a look regardless of her sister's enthusiasm. But deep inside the table, there was something that strangely had a strong presence. Ram. It's a whole roasted farty pig, Amelia. Ram said she wanted to eat it, so I did my best to hunt it down, like it. Although it had a pitiful appearance, Ram nodded at Amelia with her pretty pro way of hunting. If she didn't, she would have felt really bad for the farty pig she chose as the random thing she wanted. When Amelia smiled at that affirmation in satisfaction, she also chased after Subaru with lively footsteps. And then she heard screams of ouch, 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 my face is peeling off, coming from the bathroom. Beatrice. Good grief, people are being noisy early in the morning. Ram. Even Miss Beatrice came. The one who used that moment of screaming to show up at the dining hall with an annoyed expression was Beatrice. When she looked up at Ram, who opened her eyes wide, she pouted irritably. Beatrice, it's not like I came here to celebrate. Besides, it has nothing to do with the party for your guy's birthday. But since it was something that was talked about so much, today's meals had to be splendid, I suppose. I just came to taste them. Ram, it's not like anyone told me anything about it. Beatrice, shut up, I suppose. Just be convinced with that. HMPH. Beatrice stamped her feet as her straight face turned red, and she passed by Ram's side to head towards the dining table. While watching that small back, Roswal let out a slight smile with a slip of laughter. He was completely amused, and while being at his limit, his shoulders trembled, and he said, Roswal, how should I put it, you guys are lovely. Ram, you're evil. Master Roswal, you knew about most of this, didn't you? Roswal, well, I understood that Subaru's, Lady Amelia's, and Rem's secrets made no sense at all. I knew it was impossible to fool your eyes, and besides, doing such a thing was pointless. Roswal shrugs his shoulders, and he said that indifferently without shame. When Ram squinted in response to those words, Roswal went, as he left just his blue eye open of his heterochromic eyes, and he said, it's about Ram. You can never underestimate Rem and the others who worked hard to do something for you. The worried profile you had these past few days was charming. Ram, Master Roswal said he agreed to do my idea. Roswal, I told you, didn't I? I told you that I have my own way of blessing. I'll respect your wishes. In addition, I'll have you respect mine as well. And if the wishes ever conflict with each other, it will be a competition. In this case, it was called a mutual celebration. She suffered utter defeat. That sense of defeat makes Ram drop her shoulders. In reality, she acted just like they expected her to. There was no room to excuse her defeat. Ram didn't reject Rem, Amelia, and incidentally Subaru's kindness. That's why she felt there was surely no choice but to celebrate. Roswal, you're thinking too hard on it. It might be hard for you as someone who sees anything and everything too clearly, but you should be kinder to yourself. Ram, if so, then it would be best for Master Roswal to do that. Roswal, Oh, that hit me where it hurts. Roswal gives a wry smile. Ram felt warmth in that wry smile, and she treated it as the bargain for her sense of defeat. Beatrice, HMPH, if this is the younger sister's cooking, this looks very weird, I suppose. When she looked, she saw Beatrice complaining about something with a plate in her hand while she was searching the dining hall. She had stuff like Rem's homemade baked sweets on the plate she held, but she was looking at a different corner of the table. Beatrice saw ugly cooking and sweets lined that didn't appear to be Rem's, just like she said, and Ram. It would be weird to make Rem do all the cooking for her own birthday celebration, after all. Ram mutters that, and she brought that ugly dish, the cooking that appeared to have used steamed potatoes, to her mouth. Ram, yuck! Ram licks her lips with her pink tongue, and she let out those thoughts. And then the only ones who saw Ram's face while making kind smiles were Roswal and Beatrice. Subaru. Oi, Ram, that was a close one. I almost lost my face. Ram. I might have been able to stand looking at you if you had. That's a pity. Subaru. You'd be able to look at me if I had no face, you say. Do you really hate my face that much? Love it. Ram snorted her nose as she went, huh, in response to Subaru's complaint, who came back from the bathroom. There was no sign of the gentle behavior she had from earlier, as she acted like she usually would. Roswal takes notice of that, and he was the only one who shrugged his shoulders as if saying it couldn't be helped. Emilia. So, Ram, how's the roasted farty pig? Is it good enough? Ram. Sorry, Lady Emilia. Meat dishes aren't really my forte. Subaru. Then why did you say that you wanted this? She frankly confessed that she wasn't good with pitiful farty pigs. Ram left dealing with the pig up to Subaru and Emilia, and she decided to fully enjoy the potato dish. That's how the buffet party, and gradually, the birthday party began. Rem. Sister, standing next to her, Rem quietly took a look at her expression. She took a look while having the guilt from having hid something from her, and the expectations of what Ram thought about this birthday party. Rem, sister, happy birthday. Like that, Rem smiled. Ram smiled back at Rem as well as she smiled. Ram, yes, happy birthday to you too. Rem, I'm really just so happy that Rem is my sister. Ram gave the blessing words to Rem with the endless love that came from her heart. Everyone, happy birthday. And then right after that, the blessing words flew about in the Roswal residence. Because this day was a birthday, it's the one day in the year when anyone can become the protagonist.